morning, everyone, and welcome to Viva Cafe con Leche. I am the badass Buddha, Lori Monaco, coming to you from a beautiful southern Connecticut where the temperature is just phenomenal and the weather's been wonderful and very, very happy. Although we could use some rain, and that's hopefully coming soon. But other than that, it's just, gosh, I mean, really very grateful for that beautiful spring weather. So welcome, and we hope you had a wonderful weekend. Good morning, my partner in crime.
Good morning, buenos días, mi gente. Here it's not as sunny yet. The sun hasn't really fully blossomed this morning, but here we are. Buenos días. Happy to be here Tuesday. Mercury in retrograde hopefully ended yesterday, so we're back to being the assholes we were without an excuse of Mercury in retrograde. Good morning, buenos días.
Oh my God. Did you have a nice Mother's Day, Gladiator Guru? I know you worked.
Yes, I worked. Spent the early morning with my sister before she flew out, and then I went to work. That was it. But it was okay. It was good. You know what? Every day I'm a mother, so just like Valentine's Day, I don't even celebrate that. Never.
I want to show. I do want to show what my youngest bought me, though. My youngest bought me this for Mother's Day, among other things. You know, she picked this out. She was so happy, like she could not wait to show it to me. She also bought me a necklace of a very pretty elephant. It's small. It's a small elephant, but she knows how much I love elephants. But she could not wait to give us this thing. She said she saw it and she was like, Mommy has to have that. So,
and it's beautiful.
It is very beautiful. Yes, she did a good job. And I've been wanting big jewelry because I'm always so envious of Gladiator Guru and her big jewelry. And I don't really have anything big. So this was great. It was just so exciting. You know what the best part of it was, Gladiator Guru, was to see her just so excited to give that to me. Mm-hmm. That really was what the best part of it was.
It's not the gift, it's how the gift is presented. Buenos días, Milagro.
Good morning, Milagros. Happy Mother's Day, Milagros. Happy belated
Feliz día.
And Desale.
It's like it's never about like the gift in hand. It's the excitement and the love in which the gifter is their essence, their aura, that spiritual excitement that makes you value the gift that they hand you. And a lot of people miss that totally. And so yeah, I understand that. You see, her excitement is what got you so excited. And then you looked at it and you loved it, but you love it even more because it came with so much joy.
Oh, yes.
It's always the little things people miss out on, but it's always the little things that cement everything to build upon. Oh my God, I'm such a poet and don't know it.
Happy belated Mother's Day to you too as well, Destiny.
Yes, yes.
We're very happy that everybody's here. So don't forget to like, share, subscribe, all that lovely stuff, follow. And we're going to have a really great conversation. Today is a part 1 and part 2. We're going to be talking about rewiring your brain. And it's going to be, Gladiator Guru is going to indulge me and let me get a little bit sciencey this morning. My nerd is going to come out. But it's going to be this is like, I would say is probably one of the most important conversations that we need to have with regards to beliefs and changing them, because this has actually been proved with science that it's possible to do this, even in ripe old ages, where we used to think that after a point in time, we can't learn anything new really. And we just go by our old experiences, and that's all found out not to be true. So we'll talk about that shortly. Good morning, Carmen and Nieves in the house.
Carmencita.
Thursday. I tried to get out and text message people. I really stayed away from social media, but I tried to text people directly through my list of names, my contacts, to wish them a happy Mother's Day directly. But there's a few people that I don't have in my contacts that I regretfully wished I had gone on to social media and sent directly, like Milagros and Carmen and Desiree, you know, everybody and all the people that come on a lot for part of our tribe. So I apologize for that I did not get a chance to do that.
Well, good morning. I just hope everybody had a great Mother's Day. I think my kids are so used to me not expecting anything on Mother's Day, Valentine, my birthday. That's the biggest thing I celebrate. That I expect you to celebrate for me is my birthday, because it's the day I arrived, right? But I try to text.
The world needs to celebrate that. We all need to celebrate that.
What? My birthday?
The day you arrived.
Yes. Absolutely. There's no doubt about that. And I just think that, you know, I just hope everybody had a good day alongside their loved ones and you know, and remembered good memories with our parents that with our mothers, for those whose mothers ascended. So, you know what? Just love. We send love. Y besitos.
Okay, so let's this is going to be a great conversation. So let's get rocking and rolling, and let's do set our intention, and let's do our mantra, and let's kick it into gear. So here we go. Let's set our intention. Our intention on Viva is to be intentional. So make sure that you set an intention, whatever you want to do today. Just go with intention. Be intentional and
grateful. Just be grateful in everything you do. Do it in gratitude. Good morning, little sister. Mwah. You know,
good morning, Janet, and happy belated Mother's Day.
If you're intentional and you set about your day just being intentional, you're gonna miss all the important ingredients, because people are so focused with blinders on getting what they intended to do that day that they're not doing it in grace. They're not doing it in gratitude. They're not even sharing kindness because, I just, I don't got time for the chit chat, and they go on. So make sure that it is you're out with the fraternal twins. You're out with intention and gratitude.
Oh. All right. So let's set let's do our mantra, and we want you to say it loud, say it proud. And if you're in an area that you cannot yell it or you cannot say it out loud, just say it to yourself, but feel it. Take a moment if you can and just close your eyes if you're able to. And when we say it, repeat it. Okay? Because it is that powerful, and it's something that needs to be said throughout your day and in the days that you don't have Viva, because it describes who you are and it sets the intention for who you are. So here we go. I am a disruptor.
I am a disruptor.
I am unapologetically courageous.
I am unapologetically courageous.
I am spiritually grounded.
I'm spiritually grounded.
I am magically orgasmic.
Ole.
And I keep it real.
All day, no doubt. Good morning, Miggy.
Good morning, Migdalia. Good morning, Tiffany. All right.
Hey, Tiffany Bryan. Trying to get the thing to copy, and it's giving me a hard time.
I know, and I'm trying to get everybody in. So
yes, good morning, ladies. Happy belated Mother's Day to you all. Thank you.
All right. So good morning. All right. This is going to be a really great conversation today, and this is one of my favorite things to talk about. We're still on the month of beliefs, like understanding self and believing in self, and what are our beliefs about ourselves. And we really, really hope that you have been really doing the work, because if you don't do the work, then nothing is going to change. Nothing's going to get that. You're going to keep repeating the same patterns, right? And we know that the path to insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different outcome. So it's important for you to face these things. What do you believe yourself to be? What do you believe about yourself? And it's not just about what you believe in the world, right? But it's about what you believe you are capable of, what you believe about yourself. And you have to identify these things, good and bad. So why is it so important for you to identify these things so that you can make necessary changes? I'm going to read, I'm going to read a quote, and then I'm going to get into this in a moment, and then I'm going to hand it over to Gladiator Guru. But there was a quote from an article that I pulled, and it was a quote by a person named Merzanik. I don't know what the person's first name is. I forgot what it is already. But it says, older people are absolute masters at encouraging plastic brain change in the wrong direction. And what does this person mean about plastic brain change? It means something called neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity is the ability, our brain has the ability to reorganize and redirect itself physically and functionally throughout our entire lives. It does not matter how old we are, although most of the reorganization and connections occur when we're under a certain age, when we're like under 10 years old, under 15 years old. But it does it throughout our whole life. This has been proven. The only way that we cannot alter our brain is when there's disease, like when there's disease present there and it's going to interfere or challenge it, or if the brain is deteriorating with like diseases such as dementia. But as long as your brain is actually healthy, you can actually create changes throughout your life. So this is something called neuroplasticity. But the reason I started with that quote was because this individual is talking about the fact that we as adults, the older we get, we encourage brain growth, because that's what plasticity is, brain change and growth in the wrong direction. That's not good. That's not good at all, right? And so if we've already been in the wrong direction when we were younger, this is going to be extremely problematic as we get older. But here's the good thing is that we can change. We can change our brain at any age. So we are born with, I'm sorry, I don't want to say we're born with. It changes as we age. But basically as adults, we have 86 billion nerve cells called neurons. And it's these things that communicate back and forth. And you're gonna love this one, because for years, we're talking decades, they believed we had 100 billion. And this fabulous Colombian woman scientist discovered about less than a decade ago, she discovered that we don't actually have 100 billion, we have about 86 billion. Now that's a big difference, but it's not enough to cause any problems because we still have the capabilities that we have. But I thought it was pretty cool that it was not only a woman that discovered this, but it was a Latina. So she discovered this. Her name is Susana Herculana Huzel. And the thing is that with every one nerve cell, one neuron in our brain, they're very tiny, they're cells, so they're microscopic. They have branches. They have a tail with branches. They don't always have a tail. They just have branches. And each one can either communicate with one neuron or 10,000 neurons, up to 10,000 neurons. It's anywhere between 1 and 10,000 neurons. The more we learn and the more we use that neuron, the more it branches and the more connections we make. That is why you're really good at doing certain things. Like there's certain things that you don't even have to think about that you could do automatically, because you have created these massive branches of connections. And because you've done it over and over and over again, you have made those connections really, really strong. So that's the key, is doing something new, creating a new branch, a new connection, and then doing it over and over again so that you make that connection very strong. See, our neurons constantly make new connections. But if you don't use it, then it just prunes away the connection. This is why I don't need this. So let's say Gladiator Guru and I say something to you today, and you're like, oh my God, that was pretty cool. And you heard it and you say, oh, I don't want to forget that. But because you didn't repeat it, you actually will forget it. So maybe you wrote it down, but you didn't look at it. Then you looked at it again. You said, oh my God, yeah, that was really cool. I want to remember that. You have to be able to look at it numerous times, and then it has to be important to you. If it's really not important to you, you won't commit it to memory. But here's the rub. This is the challenge of it. It doesn't have to all be good stuff. See, whatever we learn and whatever we memorize and whatever we do over and over again, it could be good or bad. Either way, we're going to create the connection and we're going to create strong connections. So the key is to be able to recognize when something is good and bad. And that's why we started off this whole entire year with having you become aware, being acknowledging. Okay. And what was the other one? Awareness, acknowledge, accountability. There was one other one in there. It starts with an A. But that's why, because we need you to become aware of the things that are getting in your way, the things that are preventing you from being the best version of yourself. You have to acknowledge these things and then do something about it. And this is where neuroplasticity comes in, because you can learn to rewire and prune away the old ones and create new strong ones. But it starts with that awareness, and then it starts with changing your belief. And then that's why next month we get into talking about habits, because it's these very connections that we create that cause our habits, that this is what makes a habit. And if your habits are negative or not good, you'll keep repeating them until you decide, I don't want to do this anymore. So I think that's good for now. So let's have a conversation on this, Gladiator Guru.
Well, you brought up the science stuff, but again, to have that spiritual connection. See, there's scientific. Everything you said is true, and what I looked up is with the neuroscience spirituality. It says that it shows that right now the teens with strong personal spirituality is 75 to 80% less likely to get all the negative stuff, right? And that's just the teens. They're addicted to drugs, alcohol, even suicide or attempted suicide. But it says that spiritually, mind, body, and soul, it's when you have what you said with the science stuff, it's a specific circuit in the brain associated with spiritual awareness grows stronger and thicker when we tap into our innate spiritual core. So although science is science, and you got to respect it and honor it, because we all go to science for certain stuff in life. But science is nothing without spirituality. And I can say that. I don't care how many scientists get mad at me. Because you have to have a core belief of something to start something. And what I've heard is, one day I was asking the science teacher, why do scientists start off with this belief inside of them that there's something bigger, out there, and they delve into whatever science part they go into, and then they forget all about that spirituality, and they only deal with what they can see, touch, taste, and smell. And she says for a lot of her colleagues, they did go from one side of the spectrum to the other, where they didn't believe in anything but what the science told them. They forgot all about the spirituality. But it's always that match, that little flicker of flame that starts something. So I'm a firm believer that if you feed your spirit, there's nothing you cannot accomplish. The Badass Buddha says something that is very important, mi gente. She said, the brain will rewire whatever is good or bad, whatever it is that you feed it, right? Whatever you put out into the atmosphere. It is true. That's why they say discernment, choose wisely. Because the universe is not going to, whatever you put out there is what you're going to get. Can't totally put out there all this negativity and what is it that you said about the insanity, and then expect only, gold to fall in your lap and everything to turn out okay. You have to be an active participant in what it is you want out of life.
That's right. Yeah.
You have to think it. You have to write it. You have to walk it. You have to be everything it is you want in order for the road to be cleared and paved before you, spiritually speaking. And then you meet people along the way, and they will help you. You hand them a shovel and they'll help you cut out, carve out, and repave that path that you're walking on. But you have to believe that it is possible, and then do the work, which is science. So spiritually, you're believing it's possible, and scientifically, you're actually putting in the work and seeing the results. But they're like this, like Khalil Gibran says, be together yet apart like the pillars of the temple. And that's how I look at science and spirituality. They are there together, but they're not one, or one cannot function without the other.
Yeah, I absolutely agree.
Okay.
Absolutely agree.
For me, the reason that the badass Buddha and I are who we are, because I'm more into spirituality. I'm more into, you can make anything happen. Look at the cavemen. Today we're so stuck on this gas and these lighters and these matches, and everybody believed that rubbing two rocks together was going to spark something, and it did. But you got to have that belief system, that spirituality and knowing before you can actually do something. And if we only do what others have done, then what are we? What are we? We're followers. Initiate something on your own. Be so spiritually strong that when you set out to do something out there that is labeled science, you're doing it. You're succeeding on your own merit because you believe in something bigger than you. And that's my belief on it. Because when we engage in this spiritual brain station, we perceive that we are in partnership with the higher power. The name changes across faiths, and we all know that. Me is God, Yahweh. So evidence from MRI studies show in the spiritual brain shows that we are hardwired to be able to hand it over in times of pain, isolation, and uncertainty, or to discover direction and guidance. But we shouldn't wait until we reach such a low point to act in a partnership with our higher power. And that's what many of us do. That's
Yes.
why we solely rely on what everybody runs to, which is it's science. And if you meet a lot of science people, a lot of them are atheists.
Yes.
They
Because
only
they
believe in
can't-
science.
because they can't look outside the box. That's just it. And the irony is this, that several years ago, there were scientists that figured out that there is an area in the brain that houses that religious belief, that higher power that they
That's
believe was put in there purposefully, that it's because exactly what you said. You could have people that never go to any type of, they don't claim any type of organized religion, which is fine because I don't either, but they're not spiritual. They're whatever they want to call themselves, atheist, agnostic, it doesn't matter, but they just don't talk about it until something bad happens. And then all of a sudden they're like praying. And like, remember back when September 11th happened and everybody went to church, like the churches were packed, people were praying, they were scared, they were lost. And so that there's that piece of it, that people will only do that at certain times. And that's what you had just said. I believe that's what you were just saying.
Yeah.
Whereas that's the way we have to look at it is it's all together. They are literally parallel to one another. Science and spirituality are necessities of one another, and they work together. Instead of making them fight each other, let's have them work together, because this is what gets us going. Like when we're talking about belief, and we're talking about reprogramming your brain, you've got to go down to those basic beliefs that came on when you were a child. You have got to go down and think about that, because if you if you believed that you were not worth it, if you believed that you couldn't have this, or you will never amount to this because of the programming that happened when you were a child, or that you're going to, or let's put it into like a little bit of religion, is that if you do this, it's a sin. If you behave this way, it's a sin. Like all these beliefs, those have been programmed and recorded in you. And you have to look with discernment and decide, were those serving me? Did they get in my way of my growth? Like, honestly, did they really get in way in my growth? Did I believe this? And this is a constant thing, because this came up for me a lot lately. And even Gladiator Guru and I were talking about beliefs that we got when we were children that were like, okay, we have to really redirect ourselves. Like, this is just, wow, I can't believe I'm still hooking on to this belief. This is not serving me whatsoever. So I'm going to run to the bus, leave it with you, all your beautiful wisdom.
Other belief systems, though, you got to understand that one is religion and spirituality are not one and the same. Religion is man-made, where spirituality is God, is Yahweh, it's Yeshua. So let me tell you something. So we can. I mean, we're human and we're wired to do stuff, but who wired us? See, and I just believe, like, they talk about the new discoveries of this and that, and I'm gonna talk about something that I lived. In faith, if your body breaks down, your spirit goes home to God. Because this is a costume. This is just a host that we're using. And in spirituality, your spirit never dies. Your spirit just goes back home. Unless you really fucked up. So repent. But ALS, Lou Gehrig, 1939, number 3 in the New York Yankees, was diagnosed by the Mayo Clinic with ALS. The Mayo Clinic, where everybody wants to look up stuff because the Mayo Clinic is supposed to be so scientifically advanced and correct and whatever. Okay, so 1939, he gets diagnosed with ALS, amyotrophic lateral sclerosis. He dies in 41. He just couldn't take it. You got this avid baseball player who was amazing, and then all of a sudden he can't do for himself. So 1939 to when my husband died of ALS in 2017. Not only did they not discover, did not is the operative word, discover why people were afflicted with ALS. But here we are, 1939, 2017. They can't even tell you what they can do scientifically to regress it or anything. They got the cure for cancer, so all that other stuff is just BS. But they cannot. Scientifically, they cannot. But spiritually, you can. Be grateful and live intentionally for the time that you have. ALS people are said to live between 2 to 5 years. So there's really no really big research going on there. Because why? They're going to die in between 2 to 5 years. There's no research. There's no anything. There's a medication, I don't even know the name because Eric never took it, that's supposed to add 3 months to your life. Who the hell wants to live in pain for an extra 3 months when you're paralyzed? See, ALS is one thing that if a mosquito bit you, you can't scratch because you're paralyzed, but you can feel that itch. So it's a very demonic disease. And spiritually, scientifically, they just write you off. What did the doctor say when Eric was first diagnosed? Oh, you can eat whatever you want. In other words, what she didn't say was you're going to die anyway. Well, we're all going to die. We all are here temporary. But scientifically, we're talking about ALS. And it's treacherous death. Real quick, it kills off all your muscles except your heart. But it deteriorates your lungs. And when I say all the muscles and I say you become paralyzed, people only think about the arms and the legs. Well, your tongue is a muscle. Your tongue dies. Your eyelids. So if you're watching TV and your eyelids that muscle decides to die, guess what happens about you closing your eyes? Or if it dies when they're closed, how do you open them? So it's way beyond just your arms and your legs. It's very, very awful. And what do you have? What do you have left? To die miserable? Because scientifically you're believing, well, everything's gonna die on me. I'm gonna be in pain all the time, blah, blah, blah. Or spiritually, you believe in something bigger. And 50% of the cure is a positive attitude. And that's what Eric chose. The day he was diagnosed, he said, I am blessed to have ALS. Because out of all my siblings, I was the one chosen. And I'd rather it be me. And that's how he lived all those years with it. Scientifically, they told him, eat whatever you want. You have 2 to 5 years. I'm sorry. But spiritually, he said, I got to be better than this. I'm not going to mourn my death that has yet to arrive. So I don't know. Our brain gets rewired with what we choose to feed it. Science is very important. You have to follow the laws of science for many things. But if you're filled with faith, guess what? That's science. You can choose the one that is beneficial to you. You believe it for what it is. I think they both have to work together. And you have to research, you have to feel it, you have to have that innate intuition. And you can't walk out in life saying you're being cheated out of gifts. Intuition is what we all have, and faith just makes it shine bright. And I'm not trying to convert anyone, but what I'm saying is that's how I function in life. And that's how we will go to science, and we will look up stuff, and we will read books on it, because it does, when you have your faith that anything and everything is possible for good, and then you read science stuff and you're reading up on it. Why am I like this? And then they talk about all these genetics and these brain rewiring and all that, and they all come together. And you can say, see, I'm not a total chaotic mess. I matter, because a lot of us need those little things to make that happen. And when you rewire the brain to love yourself and to believe in what you do, because you believe in something bigger than you, and then you're reading this article, how this and you and that come together to form just a wondrous symphony, then there's nothing that can stop you from living your purpose, because it all goes down to that. Are you living your purpose to leave a legacy? What are you doing that your grandchildren's grandchildren will remember you? You know, I look back, I never met my mother's mother, but I met my father's mother. You know, and I've heard stories about my father's grandparents that I still carry, but I never met them. But there was certain things that I heard in stories that I held on to, because I was like, oh, so if we would have met, there was a connection. Or the way she handled something that every time I'm like, oh, I don't know, and I think about them. That's a legacy that was left to me, and it was shared through storytelling. And I think that's what we have to remember. And the rewiring is, we have to dispel the negativity. We have to dispel, I can't. I don't have. You have everything you need to move forward. And if you don't, you have everything you need to discover it, to find it, to adapt to it. You are everything that you need in this world if you believe. Because even the scientific stuff that the badass Buddha read is all about belief in yourself. Believing that if you don't know, you will find out. If you are not strong enough, then you will build on what it is you need to have strength in. But at the end of the day, it's all within, what am I capable of gifting myself with to move forward? And that's the only thing we can have. So whether you're looking at it in the spiritual sense, in a scientific sense, or you're looking at them as the fraternal twins that they are, and you're meshing them, and you're believing that there's something bigger than you, a higher power, Yahweh, Father God, Elohim, Shaddai, that is there encouraging you to walk this path that you were born to do. That's why birthdays are important to me, because I wasn't born on accident. I was purposely designed, and I faltered, and I went off, I derailed off the path, and I did this, but I always seem to come back. And that's what we need to do. Are we going to mess up in life? Absolutely. Are you going to go back and say, I can't do that again, but it was fun while I did it? Absolutely. Because you're still rewiring. You're learning from what you did and what not to do, or how you should handle what's in front of you. But the thing is, you have to believe. You have to have this belief system within you that there is brighter, that there is nicer, that there is kinder, that there is better on your path. And then you figure out, okay, I know that this exists. How am I going to formulate it and customize it to me to arrive towards my journey, not my destination? You have to be ready to arrive towards your journey, because mentally, spiritually, you have to prepare yourself. And of course, physically, because you ain't climbing no mountains. But what is it that you need to do? It's very simple. Show the fuck up for yourself.
Mm.
That's what you need to do. In faith and in physicalness. That's the science. Prepare yourself in all aspects to forge forward. But you just have to show up, because I can't do it for you. The badass Buddha can't do it for me. So
No.
we have to prepare ourselves. We have to use discernment with ourselves. We have to be kind to ourselves, but we have to speak truths to ourselves. Don't lie to yourself saying and then be like an overcooked spaghetti, because you did it. You didn't turn the flames off. So you don't lie to yourself. Know what you want. You don't have to know how to get there. You just have to know that you're willing to travel the journey, and the roads will open up for you. But
and a good way and a good way to determine if this is a new path for you is lean into the discomfort. That's the hard. I would say for me, that's been a challenge. Leaning into the discomfort. It's funny, we can lean into discomfort to a certain level, but when we have to really get uncomfortable, that's when we tend to pull back, and that's usually the time that we actually have to stay steadfast, because it doesn't feel familiar to us, and that that's always been a hard word for me. Familiarity is due to that neuroplasticity that we've created, like all those connections that we created all those years ago. And now we have to get past that to create new ones. And so if you feel that things that you're doing are uncomfortable for you, they're having you to really think it through, push yourself through, be more focused, then that's a really good indicator that you are on the right path. Now, understand something, that if it's uncomfortable for you, like, we don't want you to be uncomfortable because you're going against your principles, your values. That's not what we're talking about. Like, if somebody presents something to you and you're like, I don't think that feels really good to me because that kind of goes against my values. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about your personal, like, if you say, I really want to travel, like I was having a conversation with someone and they were saying that they really want to travel, but they're fearful of traveling solo as a woman. And I suggested, well, start looking on Facebook for Facebook groups of women who travel solo. Go on to YouTube of women who travel solo. They're out there. And then connect with some of these women, connect as a group, but then even reach out to one or two that you feel kind of some sort of camaraderie to, or, connection to, and then ask them pertinent questions, because they're going to help you think outside the box. You're in your little zone thinking, oh my God, how am I going to be able to travel by myself? It's very dangerous and blah, blah, blah. But here's women that are doing it. So if they're doing it, they're already doing it. Now, granted, don't look at it as like, oh, I'm following them. No, you are still on your own journey. They're just helping guide you. They're giving you the insight that they have, and they're willing to share it so that it's information, and then you take it and do what you want to do with it. So in this article that I printed, it talks about the 10 fundamentals of neuroplasticity. In other words, in order for you to get your brain to change, like, there's 10 things that you need to consider. Number one is change is mostly limited to those situations in which the brain is in the mood for it. In other words, if you are alert, on the ball, engaged, motivated, ready for action, the brain releases neurochemicals necessary to enable change. When disengaged, inattentive, distracted, or doing something without thinking that requires no effort, your neuroplastic switches are off. So you have to be focused, you have to be attentive, and you have to take action in that process. Number two, the harder you try, the more you're motivated, the more alert you are, and the better or worse the potential outcome, the bigger the brain change. If you're intensely focused on the task and really trying to master something for an important reason, the change experience will be greater. The reason they say that it could be worse is if you are focusing and your attention is in a negative way, it'll reinforce that. So you also have to be really, really aware of what it is specifically that you're focused on. Number 3 is what actually changes in the brain are the strengths of the connections of neurons that are engaged together moment by moment in time. The more something is practiced, the more connections are changed and made to include all elements of the experience, sensory info, movement, and cognitive patterns. Let's see, what else? Number 4, Learning-driven changes in connections increase cell-to-cell cooperation, which is crucial for increasing reliability. Asking you to imagine the sound of a football stadium full of fans all clapping at random versus the same people clapping in unison. The more powerfully coordinated your teams are, the more powerful and more reliable their behavioral productions. So you want your cells to be all like at the same time doing the same thing because it's more powerful. Number 5, the brain also strengthens its connections between teams of neurons representing separate moments of successive things that reliably occur in serial time. This allows your brain to predict what happens next and have a continuous associative flow. Without this ability, your stream of consciousness would be reduced to a series of separate, stagnant puddles. So they have to all be connected. This flow has to be connected. One thing goes to the other. Otherwise, if it's disjointed, it will be harder for you to connect and then move forward. So you have to decide, like, whatever you're working on, what's the purpose? What are you working towards? What is the bigger picture? And how is this all connected? Let's see. The number 6, initial changes are temporary. The brain first records the change, then determines whether it should make the change permanent or not. It only becomes permanent if your brain judges the experience to be fascinating or novel enough, or if the behavioral outcome is important, good or bad. Number 7, the brain is changed by internal mental rehearsal in the same ways and involving precisely the same processes that control changes achieved through interactions with the external world. You don't have to move an inch to drive positive plastic change in your brain. Your internal representations of things recalled from memory work just fine for progressive brain plasticity-based learning. We're almost done. Number 8, memory guides and controls most learning. As you learn a new skill, your brain takes note of it and remembers the good attempts while discarding the not so good tries. Then it recalls the last good pass, makes incremental adjustments, and progressively improves. Number 9, every moment of learning provides a moment of opportunity for the brain to stabilize and reduce the disruptive power of potentially interfering background or noise. Each time your brain strengthens a connection to advance your mastery of a skill, it also weakens other connections of neurons that weren't used at the precise moment. This negative plastic brain change erases some of the irrelevant or interfering activity in the brain. And last one, number 10, brain plasticity is a two-way street. It is just as easy to generate negative changes as it is positive ones. You have a use it or lose it brain. It's almost as easy to drive change that impair memory and physical and mental abilities as it is to improve them. So you have to be diligent in the change. It has to become ingrained in you, or else you will resort back to those previous beliefs, those negative beliefs. And that all comes from the scientist, Dr. Michael Merzenich, from his book, The Soft Wired, How the New Science of Brain Plasticity Can Change Your Life.
And everything there, it all was sciencing. And like some of us are we're predisposed more so than others on our spiritual connection. But to cultivate that natural capacity for faith at any time, as research has been proven, one absolutely should. So although what he said was true, and it's all about, and what all started in 2020, all this mind shifting, control your mind. And it was then that I realized how people were only thinking about brain activity, like you just said, and less about spirituality in a time when spirituality was very much needed in that chaos of 2020, right? So, but everything you said is true, which is still true. You just got to add the spirit. You got to believe that you can in order to rewire your brain and make it happen. Because if not, you're just following suit like everybody clapping in that stadium. So it's not coming from you. It's not coming. It's more of everybody doing the same thing at the same time. And although that's good in a stadium, again, you want to be able to initiate from a spiritual point of view, to tell your brain, this is good, let's do this. Because if not, then where's the kindness and gratitude? Where does the kindness come from if you're just programming your brain to see something as let's do this and let's not do this? Like, kindness is in your soul. That's a spiritual thing. That gratitude is a spiritual thing. It's not a brain thing. It's what you feed your soul in order to captivate the brain. And everything you said is true. All 8 of them.
10.
You do. Oh, 10 of them. I think I only liked 8. But I think that you have to follow up with spirituality. You have to follow up with the higher power. And many will not believe so. I've met many people who don't believe in God. And I never try to convince them about God, because everybody has an exit interview. All I do is, because they don't believe in God does not mean that I don't speak of my God. If you don't like me speaking of my God, then bye-bye. But the thing is that I'm not going to judge you for not believing in him, but I'm not going to stop speaking or praising him in front of you because you don't believe in him. And there's a lot of people like, oh, I hate this God talk. Well, then, okay, bye-bye then. But the thing is that when you rewire your brain to believe that you were born on purpose, with a purpose, and that you matter, and no matter how much trauma, drama, and pain you have been through, does not mean you were ever abandoned. And if anything, we've spoke about this in the 3 years we've had the show. Trauma, drama, and pain, that chaos, has you choosing, are you a victim or a victor? And at the end of the day, that's where you're rewiring your brain to become a victim or a victor. Because whatever happened, happened. The operative word is it happened. So where are you today? Are you stronger? Are you wiser? Are you kinder because you know what it was to be mistreated? Are you grateful because you knew what it was to be abused? So, I mean, that's the greatest rewiring of the brain that you can do, but you got to come from your core to come up with that. And like I said in the beginning of this conversation, and the reason I'm talking about it like spiritual, because Badass Buddha is always the scientist. And
I'm not always the scientist. Stop saying I'm always.
Well, I'm never the scientist. So if there's only 2 of us, you're always the scientist.
I take offense to that because I have worked very hard on my spiritual side.
And
I just
yes,
both.
you have worked hard. So what I'm saying is you can't have one without the other and expect great results. Yeah, and for those that have had great results in just one or the other, I wonder where they were in their last stages of life. So I don't know. I think what we wanted to say with this is, what's the title of the show?
Rewire your brain.
Rewire your brain, part 1, to say that you matter, that we matter, and there's always room for growth. And I think that's the rewiring we got to do, because we can't really evict all the negative shit that actually happened to us that has caused deep scars within our being. But I think to rewire it, to realize that we were born on purpose for a purpose. And no matter what we went through, we are here today to say, whoo, I survived that battle, that war. I'm here listening to the Badass Buddha and Gladiator Guru, because you know what? Everything leads to something. And if you truly believe that you can be better than you was yesterday, then believe that every day leads to another day, and another day to grow, and another day to see things in a different light, and another things to be a better person to ourselves first.
But here's the thing. Even if you can't, because Gladiator Guru said if you can believe that, even if you don't believe that, we're telling you you can be that. That's just it. You know, if your belief is saying, oh, I can't be this and I can't do this, There's your belief. What we're trying to say to you is you could change that belief. You could flip it. Even if it feels like it's not true. Like, no, that's not true. I this is who I am. What you're saying to me is not possible. You have got to say to yourself, I have got to change that. And why do you have to change that? Because when you look at your life and you say, I'm not happy with it, really. I'm really truly not happy. I'm not happy with my relationships. I'm not happy with myself. I'm not happy with the way my life has gone. Then that's where the change has to come in. And you have to take that deep dive. And yes, you have to ground yourself and connect. That's where that higher power, that spirituality comes from. You have got to connect because we were all born the same. We were all born with the same capabilities. We were all put on this in this planet for a reason, a purpose. But then we create our world as we go. I'm not a big fan of saying, "Oh, well, I that's destiny. That's just the way it is." I believe that we are put with all this capability. We direct our destiny from all the wounds that we have created throughout our childhood. And then we decide to fall into a certain category. The reason I'm so clear on this is because people have flipped that in their ripe old ages. There's people that have gone that were great grandmothers, never had a higher education, and then decided little by little over the years they got their GED. Then they started to take a class here and there, and they graduate college at in their 80s.
Yep.
Why would they need to do that? They don't need to do that, technically need to do that by all standards, because there's not like they need a job. They did it for themselves. They wanted to prove to themselves that they could do it. And then what does that show their family, their children, their grandchildren, their great grandchildren, that it's never too late. You have the potential within you. That's the difference. What made this person decide after all these years to go back to college? Because they just all of a sudden they said to themselves, you know what? Because I could do it. I know I can do it. Maybe they didn't believe that 20 years ago, or maybe it just wasn't the right time.
Yeah, but that's what I was going to say.
Say that again, Gladiator.
That's what I was going to say. Sometimes you just, depending where they come from, it wasn't time.
Yeah, right.
But then they found the time because, one of the most underrated secrets to success is to start before you're ready. So that seed of going and finishing something for themselves was probably planted while they still had young children. I mean, it could have been anything. Why it prevented them. But it was there. And so when you plant a seed of I am going to do this for me, there's really no time and date. There's no expiration date.
That's right.
As to, I can't do it now. All my kids are married now. What am I going to get with this degree? But if you plant that seed, there really is no expiration date on what you want to do for you. And we need to rewire our brain to believe that it is not selfish to want for you.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. And if you plant a seed within yourself a long time ago, and then life happened, marriage, divorce, single parenthood, whatever it may have been, working 2 jobs to get your children through college, even though that was something you always wanted. There's no expiration date. Why? Because you are the most important person in your life. So there's nothing that you cannot achieve for yourself. And who cares about the naysayers? Who cares who tells you, I can't believe you're doing that at their age? Said, that's right. Can you believe it? You are worthy of everything it is your heart desires to improve who you were yesterday. And although people might think you have it all together, you know what's missing within you. Understand that woman within. Again, understand her. I love my journals. I was writing in mine. And when you do, you would realize that there's nothing that you're incapable of rewiring in your brain. And there's nothing for you to rearrange in your soul. Because without you, there will be a big, big gap in the world to the people who know you and to the people who were supposed to know you. So that's how your importance in this world is. In this spiritual realm, every one of us that are still walking today have an important meeting to attend to, but we can't go there naked. So feed your spirit. Rewire that brain to believe that, yes, indeed, I can. I am capable. I deserve this. Because if not for me, then for who?
Yep, that's right. And what with those naysayers, anybody that is questioning, like Gladiator Guru was saying, why would you want to do that? You know, why even bother? That's when you know you're on the right path. Because it doesn't matter if you succeed. It what matters is you went for it.
That's it, that you started it, that you're like,
That's right.
I'm here.
That's right.
And that's it. And then halfway through, you're going to say, because let me tell you, people would always say, oh, what you're into now? You always start something and you don't finish it. And I said, yes, but I started it. So now I know never to go back to that. Anything I ever wanted to do, I would do. I believe me. And halfway through or whatever I invested, I got the free product is mine. I paid for the shit. And then I know never to do that again. So when I move forward, people are like, oh, you're going to do that again. It's never a fear to start fresh with me. And it's never a fear that, oh my God, I already started. I have to see it through or what they're going to think about me. And no, I've never had that kind of stigma, right? That, oh my God, people are watching me. Yeah, look at me. Woo-hoo. And you better hope I don't have a new bra on because I love to flash people when you're looking. But the thing is, you have to do what you do. You know, sometimes we say, oh my God, I'm tired. But listen to this. It says you often feel tired, not because you've done too much, but because you've done too little of what sparks a light in you.
Oh, say it again. Read it again.
And the conversations you and I had lately, I thought this was very befitting.
Yeah,
Says
read
you
it again.
often feel tired, not because you've done too much, because we do a lot, but it's not because we've done too much, but because you've done too little of what sparks a light in you. So sometimes we stay busy to be busy. Be busy to be. Again, half the time we stay busy just to be busy. We don't have to think about shit. We don't got to do what we're supposed to do. We're busy. Oh, I'm busy. I'm busy. So my word of the day today is be busy. Be busy to be. Which means walk in your truth. Walk in your enlightened path because it is lit, but you just keep going down the dark alley and then crying, woe is me, nothing works out for me, when you're taking your own detour. Why? Because when we walk down our enlightened path, we have to do the work. Yeah. And a lot of people think I'm going to pop up like slut magic and shit's just going to fall in my lap. And that's not how life is. So, are you going to make shit happen in your life? Or are you just going to be lost being busy, hoping that it's going to connect to being? And it's not, because they're two, what is it? A fork in the road type of shit. So make sure you're reading the signs well. Make sure when you're walking, you're paying attention to your life and that you're not taking detours for your life, but that you're walking the path that was set before you to walk. And you're going to have to carry that shovel and that gravel. And you're going to have to carry the bag with all the things you need to survive for water and food. You're going to have to kick that backsack behind you and drag the bitch until you are where you are supposed to be. And then you're going to look back on that trail you just traveled and you're going to smile because you just forged a path for others to follow. So it's bigger than who you are. So that's why it is never selfish to do what you have to do for yourself, because you are a chosen one. And when you are chosen, your life is difficult. But then when you look back and say, oh my God, I can't believe I did that, Your heart's going to be filled with joy because you know that you were strong enough. You were chosen because you are strong enough to have done that. And now you are welcoming the others. So show up, do the work, be busy being the magnificent soul that you were born to be. And Rewire, which, you know, that it was such a great name for the show, Rewire Your Brain. Because when you read my article, it's going to talk about feed your spirit, nurture your ego, love your body, and unfuck your thoughts. Spin it and believe that everything you set out to do, if it is for you, you will achieve.
And there we go. And, you know, I just want to point out that Madeline Hernandez Lopez said something pretty cool. She said, busy work is different than intentional work. And she said, I've learned intentional work feeds your soul. Yes.
Absolutely. Well, Madeline, being busy, if you break it down spiritually, it is being under Satan's yoke. When you are constantly busy, it's like you're in a maze. You're busy, you're tired mentally, physically, you're tired, you just crash. There's no time for worship. There's no time for gratitude, prayer. There's no time to reflect on what you did today and how further forth did you push yourself for tomorrow. There's no smiling that you met generous people in that day. There's none of that. There's no, I'm fucking tired, but I had a great conversation with so-and-so. Or I made a new connect. Or, you know, somebody helped me lift all the stuff into my car because they saw how tired I was. And it was beautiful. There's none of that. When you're so busy, being busy, you exhaust yourself, mind, body, and soul. So there's no time to be grateful intentionally. So that's what I'm saying. If you're going to be busy being the best soul you can possibly be for those watching you, for those following you. That's how you rewire your brain, by believing that you are a purposeful person in today.
That's where it starts.
And that's it.
So
I'm done.
Part one, very powerful. For those of you that came on late, go back to the beginning and watch the whole thing because we had such great information. And for those of you that were on the whole time and you need to hear it again, feel free to view it again because it's really got great information. And part two is Thursday. This is why it's really important, because if you come on Thursday and you listen to the whole show, that maybe you want to have part one in there. So thank you all for being here this morning. We so appreciate our tribe. We love you. And we really, we wouldn't be here without you. So thank you so, so much. So is that it, Gladi Guru? Are we ready to call it?
That is it. I think it was amazing.
Lots of information.
It is. It is. If you need to send me those 10 things that you have, please email it to me if you can.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So everyone, from the Badass Buddha, remember, be you, be real, and be extraordinary.
And from the Gladiator Guru, mi gente, excuse that I was a bit dark today. Milagros, Madeline, Desiree, Tiffany, everyone who's been on. Jonathan, I saw Jonathan was on, and Arlene and Darlene, thank you for showing up today, this Tuesday, in the beginning of the week. Let's make the rest of the week fantabulous. And remember to breathe in the beauty and breathe out the bullshit. Namaste.
Bye, everyone.